Hello there. Yesterday I played round 7 in the Lichess4545 league. I lost the game, as you can see on the screen, and I think there were two critical moments, two big blunders in which I lost the game. And one is because I was reckless, and another one was because I have this psychological problem that I have problems coming back to the game after I make one blunder. So let me, this was just a short introduction. Let me now show you the game and you will see what I'm talking about. So the game was opened, I was white, I opened with e4 as I usually do, e5 from my opponent, knight f6, knight c6, so just classical normal opening Italian game. Bishop c4, I mean it's not yet Italian, but yeah, it's in the spirit of the Italian game. Knight f6, now usually in this position in the olden times knight g5 was played attacking f7 and going most likely to so-called fried liver attack, but I just decided to play this calmly, so d3, just protecting the knight. He was protecting the pawn which was attacked. Bishop to e7, passive solution from black. So usually this bishop wants to go to c5. This is I think Hungarian defense, so okay, he's playing a little bit passive. I play c3 here, so I want to control d4 square, and also I want to have escape square for my bishop. So this is my usual setup. He castles, and now I have several moves at my disposal. One is simply to castle. Another one is to bring my knight out, so since pawn is on c3, knight goes to d2 here, and usually it's maneuvered something like this. Or I saw that he didn't play h6, and usually at some point black plays h6, so I was thinking that now this is a chance to develop my bishop. Since there is now pawn on h6, I can develop my bishop and then continue developing other pieces. So I played bishop g5, and this goes against principles. Principle is knights before bishops. So you can see here that I first develop a bishop, knight, then a bishop, so I should do the same. So maybe more principled continuation here would be just to go castles and then develop my knight, and this bishop, if he plays h6, this bishop can land on e3 and be just as active. So maybe this bishop g5, although it has its logic, maybe it's not the best way to play this position. d6. Okay, now the point of d6 is, of course, it protects e5 pawn, and now the possibility of winning my bishop pair occurs. So he could play knight to a5, attacking my bishop, and then I might try to run away with the bishop, but this is not the best solution, especially since his king is not here. So if he plays knight to a5, if his king was here, then I could just check the king, and then I get tempo. But here, the rule of the thumb in Italian game is when he protects the e5 pawn, then you retreat your bishop and be ready to run away with the bishop. And this is what happened. So I played bishop b3 here, and he attacked my bishop, and now I have this safe square bishop on c2, which is very useful because it supports e4 pawn. So if I ever want to make this d4 break, this pawn, which would be left unprotected, is now protected by the bishop. So this is the idea. He played c5 here, so he's now gaining the space, and now this position has some interesting features. So you can see there are two key squares. So one is d4, d5, which is now controlled by me. So I have the control here, and maybe if I could run over my knight here, it would be nice outpost. On the other hand, he wants to control d4, but I have the pawn on c3, so this d4 is not available for his pieces, and d5 is available for my pieces in principle. So I think I'm better here in the talking center-wise. So I think I have better control of the center, because he created this hole, and I don't have hole here. So, okay. I'm continuing my development. Again, I could castle here. It will be maybe more principled way to continue, but okay, I would play knight b to d2 nevertheless. He brings back his knight, so he wanted to move the knight in order to play c5, and now he's bringing back the knight behind the pawn. And now he's eyeing for d4 square. And I was thinking, okay, here I castled, but I was thinking about this c4 move, giving me complete control over d5, but I'm also then creating a hole on d4, so I was reluctant. I was looking at this move, but I didn't want to play it yet. He played h6, so now he puts a question mark on my bishop. I was thinking about taking the knight, and I think, well, eventually I retreated. But in this position, this is the first choice of the engine, is to take the knight. The second choice is bishop to h4, and they are almost equally evaluated. I was thinking about taking the knight because this knight is controlling d5. So if this knight is gone, it will be much easier to occupy d5. And also this knight is attacking my e4 pawn, and maybe it makes it harder to make a pawn break. So I was thinking about taking the knight, but on the other hand, I didn't want to give him a bishop pair. Although this looks like it will be a close position, especially if I play c4 at some point. Then this position could stay closed for a long time. And when the position is so closed in the center, then the advantage of bishop pair is not so important. It doesn't exist, in fact. So I think in the retrospective, I should have taken the knight here. So knight, taking the knight, and now I could continue maybe remaneuvering my knight, or maybe on c4 and then e3 or something like this. So this will be a better continuation. Instead I played bishop to h4, and now he could have played even, I was considering g5, then my bishop. So for example, if he played g5, my bishop goes back. Then he can continue further. I have to bring my knight here, but then I can bring it here on f5, hitting the h6. So these are the things I was calculating here. So if I go back, does he have any counterplay with g5? And I decided that he doesn't, and I didn't want to give him the bishop. So I play bishop h4. I think this was slightly inaccurate here. Okay, bishop to e6. He's now realizing that d5 square is important, so he's controlling it with the bishop. Rook to e1. Okay, now I'm just developing rook and also supporting e4 for future. Knight to h7. Okay, I mean, he has to come up. If you look at black's position, he has to come up with some kind of a plan. He cannot just randomly move the pieces. So he's also looking for pawn breaks, and he noticed that f5 is a pawn break in his position. So he played knight to h7, obviously going for f5. Also, he discovered the attack on the bishop, so I can either exchange bishops or I can go to g3, but I don't see much prospects here on the g3, so I exchanged the bishop. He took back, and now I'm continuing to remaneuvering my knight. I want to bring my knight on e3, thus hitting d4. So I could do it via f1 or via c4. c4 is a forward move, so I decided to play knight to c4. And then aiming to e3, he played a b5, so kicking away my knight, taking some space, but okay, I wanted to play knight to e3 anyway. And now in this position he decided to play f5. Okay, let's think in general terms about this position. Who is better here? So I would say that I am better, because I have better control of the center. First of all, d5 is, I have better control over d5 that he does over d4, because I have this c3 pawn and he has a hole here. So this is the first feature, he has a hole. Second feature is that I have my knights on active squares, so they are on the third rank. If you see that my knights are on the third rank, and his knights are on the 7th rank, or 2nd rank from his perspective. So my knights are a little bit forward, and they better control the center. Okay, his bishop is good. This is probably the best piece in his position, but this bishop can easily be challenged by bishop to b3 or something similar. So I think here I think that I'm better. Also, my rooks, my rook is developed. This kingside rook, and his rook is not. This rook is not yet developed. So I think I have better control of the center. I mean, these are advantages, are very small advantages, but still they are advantages. So I have better control of the center. I have better developed pieces. My pieces are a little bit more active. They are put on more forward square. They are better coordinated, so if you can see, this knight on h7 is not really coordinated with his other pieces. So he has some issues regarding piece coordination. So I think that I am here, I'm better. And this is the reason why, in my logic, it's too early for him to make pawn breaks. So before you make a pawn breaks, you need to make sure that you are developed, that your pieces are on the good places, that they are nicely coordinated, they control key squares, and so on. So the piece of advice in general is don't make pawn breaks until your pieces are developed and until your pieces are placed in their best squares. I have made a video. I think I will link the video below. It's called How to Play Chess Properly, in which I speak about this concept, so maybe you can check out this video as well. So anyway, he decides to go with the pawn break f5. And now he's also opening this diagonal, and I see that his bishop is the strong piece, so I play bishop b3. Now I'm challenging his bishop. This bishop is now pinned. If he takes the bishop, I could take with the queen, giving the check and also hitting this pawn, winning the pawn on b5, or I could take, maybe if this pawn is protected, I could even take with the pawn and activate this rook. Okay, so this is the problem of his diagonal. Queen to d7. Now he's protecting the bishop, and he thinks if I take the bishop, he'll have the active queen, and he's also protecting this b5 pawn, so I don't have this trick winning the pawn. Okay, and now this was the key moment in which I made first mistake. So I could do several things here. I could just take the bishop. Since I already noticed that this bishop is his strongest piece, I could just swap the bishop. Or I could listen to the rule of Grandmaster Ben Feingold, which says always play e takes f5. So I should just take the pawn here, release this pressure, and well, if I take the pawn, this bishop is pinned, so there will be some exchanges in which I will end up having the rook on the open or semi-open file, and I should be satisfied with my position. So here I'm definitely better. Engine also agrees that I'm better. I think he evaluates something like +1. And but I started making mistakes. So the first mistake was queen to c2. I had some ideas. First of all, it upholds my center. Here I also wanted to bring my rook, this or this rook, it doesn't matter, but one of my rooks on the d file and aligning it with the queen. Then maybe have some threats like this. What else was I thinking? Something along these lines. So securing upholding e4, preparing the development of my rook. But the problem is that now my bishop is locked in. This is the problem, and you will see it later. He plays f takes e4, and this is, of course, the problem is that I didn't calculate f takes e4 correctly. So f takes e4. So I played here. Here I made the blunder. I played the d takes c4, and he immediately plays c4, and he won my bishop. This is what happened in the game. Okay, so let's see how can I avoid this in the future. So if you made a blunder, if you make a bad move, you should think how can I avoid this in the future. So when you're playing a long time control game, you should always, once you decide upon a move, you should play the move in your head, and then ask yourself, what is the best move for my opponent? What can my opponent play? And this should be done for every move. maybe not in the opening when you know the theory and there are some obvious moves, but when the position is complicated like here, so much tension, so much pieces on the board and everything, you should ask yourself this question. So this is some kind of basic blunder check. So just I should have asked myself, okay, he took f takes e4. If I play d takes e4, what is the best response of my opponent? And I didn't think about this. I was thinking, okay, what else can I do but take the pawn? And I just took the pawn. So this is the flow in the way of thinking in the chess discipline. So you cannot play chess by, oh, okay, I can just take this and not think about, okay, but what if I take it? So what can black play? What are the candidates moves for black? And if I did play this move in my head and ask myself what is the best response from my opponent, I would see that c4 is the best response. Again, this is not some universal algorithm in which you can apply always. So of course, if you're playing some end games which are technical, you know the moves. If you're playing openings in which you know you have to just develop and castle and so on, you don't have to do this from the move on. But in the tense situation in which all pieces are active, there are many pawns on the board and so on, you should actively look for your opponent's best moves. So I didn't do this, and like I said, I took the pawn and he won my bishop. But okay, what was the alternative? The alternative is very interesting. So if I did see at this moment, if I took a time to see, yeah, you can see on the time that I almost spent 0 time, 23 seconds. So I had 30-second increment, 45 seconds increment. Okay, I spent like 20 seconds. If I did think about it, I would see that this bishop can be trapped, and I would insert the in-between move. I would take the bishop with a check. But now I should be crushed here, because after takes, for example, he can sacrifice the exchange. This is very strong and very thematic move. And now if I take, he has many moves on disposal, so he can in principle bring his queen here, his knight here, this knight here. You can see that both of these pawns will soon fall. If you imagine his queen on h3 and his knight on g5, then both of these pawns are gone very soon. There's constant checkmating threats. He can play check for a start and so on. So here he will have the attack which I will have difficulty surviving without severe loss of the material. So this was also back here. This was also the thing I should have considered, this sacrifice, which I didn't. So okay, I made a blunder, and now I have to part with my bishop. And now this is the moment in which this second moment, psychological moment. This is the problem I have when I make this kind of blunder. I get very frustrated, and I just lose. I mentally resign the game. So at this moment I didn't resign the game, but I did resign the game in my head. So this game from this moment was over for me, and I didn't put any effort more in the game. And this is a bad mentality, because, well, if I made a mistake, he could also make a mistake. In this rating level, mistakes happen from both sides. So I should have played this more diligently, and as you will see, I had some chances in the game, even though I played completely resignated here. Okay, so after this move I play rook e to d1. So now I'm continuing to pile some pressure in the center. He takes the bishop, I take the pawn, and now I am activating my rook. Okay, so I have some chances for counterplay if he doesn't play this correctly. So he has this backward pawn. I have a rook aligned with the queen. I have I could activate the rook over the a file. So okay, there are some chances here. The immediate threat is, of course, knight takes e5, since this pawn is pinned. So he moves his queen away. I play c4. here, so I want to expand. I want to go to the center. I mean, my only chance is to have active play. So if I would just play some defensive moves, it will count to nothing. So I want to control center. I want to go forward. Rook a to c8. Now he made a mistake, and he allows me rook takes a7. I think he probably overcalculated some stuff with this pawn, since this is attacked 3 times, and this pawn is also pinned because my queen here is under attack. My queen is now attacked 2 times and defended only once. So I think he miscalculated some stuff here and allowed me this move. And now this move comes in tempo because I'm hitting his knight, and he's play rook to f7, and this is a blunder according to the engine. And now the position is, he has a slight advantage. I have now I am the one having the initiative and having the activity. So the move I should the way of thinking I should have applied, and the move I should have played is something along these lines. So to bring queen on d2 or d3, doesn't matter, and then try to exploit this weakness, and maybe later bring my rooks over and try to look for some kind of activity here. So right here in this position, if I had the psychological strength to get over my blunder and to play this correctly, I should have had good chances for at least for a draw. But okay, now I played rook to a3. So again, if you are in this kind of situation in which you are in the material disadvantage, although this is not a huge disadvantage now, I have 2 pawns for peace, so it's not so huge disadvantage, even material wise. But here you should play actively, so you should go and look for forward moves, how to make threats for going forward. And here I make a backward move, rook to a3, and now again he's the one having the initiative. My idea was to bring the rook maybe to c3, maybe to make some threats along these lines. B takes c4, b takes c4, we just exchange pawns. Knight to f6. Okay, now he's consolidating his pieces. Knight to d2. Okay, he's now attacking my pawn on e4, and he's also attacking my pawn on c4 is under attack. So I decided to defend this pawn. So you can see that now I'm playing defensively. I'm no longer playing for activity, for initiative, but I'm playing defense, and I'm a piece down. So it's not looking good. He played bishop to g4. And in fact, I was planning on playing f3, the next move, just to make sure that this pawn is secured and this diagonal is closed. So he played bishop to g4, and I played f3, and I was again fine with this position. Bishop to h4, to h5, sorry. So you can see that this bishop is pretty much out of the game at the moment, which also gives me some chances. So I have some pieces which can be activated, and his bishop is out of the play. So again, I had to play for the activity. I play b4, which is a good move, and you can see that now all of a sudden this pawn can become dangerous. I can first play b5 with a tempo, and if you can imagine that maybe this rook is here, and I bring my pawn here to b7, I can have even this kind of threats. So now I have some counterplay here. Bishop to g6. Okay, he wants to pin my pawn here, but okay, I can play b5 with a tempo, and I did. So b5, now this pawn is very close to b7, and after b7 rook a8 could come, and it can be very dangerous. So he played rook to c5. And now here I think the position is from the human perspective, yeah, okay, black is better because he's a piece up, but there are plenty of counterplay here. But unfortunately I still played in the like I resigned the game, so I mentally resigned this game already. So this is a pity. And if you can see, okay, what does this move do? Well, he wants to stay close to his pawn, not allow me to win it or to attack it in the recent future, and he obviously wants to play d5, and this allows him to play d5. You can see that both of my pawns are pinned here. So this pawn is pinned, and also this pawn is pinned because of this attack. So I have both of my pawns pinned. Okay. And if I play this correctly, if I had this mentality to really try to give the best out of this game, then I should look how to escape both of the pins. This is one thing, and also my focus should be on promoting this pawn. So I want to have my heavy pieces supporting the promotion of this pawn. So maybe you can pause the video and find the best move here. It's not a tactical move, it's just the best move according to everything I have said so far. Okay, I hope you did pause the video. So you can see that very simple move, queen to b3, is just a move which plays itself. So by queen to b3, I managed to do three things. I escape one pin, I escape second pin, and I'm also supporting my pawn. Okay. So this was the obvious move. Instead, I played the worst move. This is rook to d3, so enforcing the pin and keeping this pin. And now there is nothing stopping him from playing d5. Both of these pawns are pinned. And now it's definitely game over. I tried to make some attacking moves, hoping that he will make a mistake. So a knight to b3. The idea behind this rook to d3 was to make a pressure on this pawn, and after a knight to b3, maybe to win this pawn. This was the idea, but of course after d5 this is over. So I played knight to b3, hitting the queen. He just made a forward. No, he made a backward move. I thought that he would go with his queen maybe on b4. It will be maybe even more precise, but okay, b6 is perfectly fine. And I was just out of the ideas here, so I played c5. He took my b5 pawn. Rook to b1, again trying desperately for to make some threats. D takes c4. Knight to d2, attacking the queen. But whatever he plays here wins. He can either take the rook with the pawn, and if I take the queen, he takes my queen, or he can just take the rook with the queen, and well, this is now game over, and I resign the game. Okay, this was the game, and it's just I'm continuing my bad chess series. I play bad online chess in the last several weeks. I have lost 100 rapid points. I have fallen in rating. I'm losing many long games. So I guess that I think I have a problem finding a motivation to really play these games. I have 2 tournaments coming this summer. In fact, one begins a month from now, and it's a 9-round tournament, and then I have immediately another tournament. So there are 2 tournaments in the cities which are nearby. After one ends, another one begins. So I will have 18 games played in the 18 days. So I'm preparing for this tournament. I'm using Chess King app mostly. I'm doing tactics. I'm doing endgames. I want to be in the shape for the tournament, but somehow I play very badly these online games. So let's hope that this will not be like this when I come to the real over the board tournament very soon. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please click the like button, share the video with your friends, subscribe to my channel if you didn't, leave the comment below, and I will see you very soon with more chess. Cheers.